Hello, this is Todd Luck, and I'm a Nintendo kid. I've loved Nintendo characters since I was a teenager, and I love the fact that Jakks has a lot of Nintendo figures out there on the shelves. But it's also cool that other video game figures get out there as well. And I'm not just talking about Sonic, but I'm talking about the other Sega characters. There is an entire line that just recently started out that has different Sega figures in it. But some of these figures have been very hard to get a hold of, but I'm happy to say, as of the recording of this video, all of them but one is available on Walmart.com, and that includes those two brand new ones you see carded in the background. We'll talk about those, but I'm going to do a real quick overview of the entire line. There's three waves. This line is a Walmart exclusive, and the descriptions for these figures say they're 4 inches tall, but when you measure them, they're actually 5 inches, or at least most of the characters are. As far as I can tell, they look very similar in style to the Nintendo figures that Jakks puts out, and so I'll leave it up to you if you want to have these guys beat up your Nintendo characters and take their lunch money or vice versa. But the best thing about the line is each of these figures is only $10. And if you haven't bought figures in like 40 years or something, trust me, that is a very, very good price. So these are modern action figures with over 20 points of articulation, which they like to brag about on the packaging. And I'm not going to bore you going through each joint here, but let's just say if you're a modern action figure collector, pretty much everything I can think of is in there. The only exception is there are no hinges at the wrist or ball joints. Instead, you just rotate the wrist. That's really the only articulation limitation. Now, the heads are on ball joints, but sometimes because of the sculpting, you can only turn them to the side. You don't really get a lot of up and down movement, but that's just a head sculpt. You know, if you're a modern collector, you know what I'm talking about. Each figure has holes in the bottom of their feet that are compatible with 3 3/4 inch figure stands. Now the figures stand just fine on their own, but if you're looking to do a pose that's a little bit more daring like this, you might want to pull out a generic figure stand. This is the first wave of figures, and these are ones that are not hard to find. In America, they're probably clogging up the shelves at your local Walmart. And so we're going to start off with Axel, who is from a series of beat 'em ups on the Sega Genesis called Streets of Rage. Both of his hands are molded as fists, and he has one accessory, which is this effect that you can put over one of his fists to simulate his uppercut move that he has starting with Streets of Rage 2. And so I think this is a fantastic representation of this character for $10. Next up is the werewolf transformation in the first level of the Genesis and arcade game Altered Beast. So I think this is an awesome looking figure, not just of the Altered Beast werewolf, but just of a werewolf in general. Now his hands are molded as fists because that's how he launches his fireballs. Unfortunately, the fire effect that came with Axel doesn't work with his fists. It's just too small to fit over his fist, but we'll have another solution for that a little bit later. His one accessory is this orb. It is a power-up orb straight out of the game. Power up. The werewolf can't really hold it or interact with it, but it does have a small hole on one side of it that is compatible with a 3 3/4 inch figure stand. And the final figure in wave 1 is Monkey Ball, and that's based on a more modern game. Monkey Ball is a game about a monkey who's in a ball, hence the name Monkey Ball. So the monkey is a little bit smaller than the other figures, so it does have less articulation. It has 8 points of articulation, but they work just great, and he does come with a banana that he can hold, as well as his ball. And the ball has a figure stand that has a round base to it that will keep him upright while he's in the ball. And so you can roll the ball, and after it rolls, he will return to the upright position, which is very impressive for a $10 figure. So starting with wave 2, the figures become very hard to find in stores, and so we have Rue and Weredragon. So Rue is from Streets of Rage. He first appeared in the third game on Genesis, and you have not played video games until you have beaten up street thugs as a kangaroo. So Rue is not like a super popular character or anything. He's just really cool looking. And so he makes a great action figure. And he even has more articulation than the other characters because he has an articulated tail. And it's just a really amazing figure. And it's just very impressive that they could pull him off. Again, this is a $10 figure, guys. I think he is worth every penny and more. And his one accessory is a effect that you can put over his hand to simulate his power punch. And that effect is actually compatible with the werewolf's fist. And so it technically is not a fire effect, but I won't tell anyone if you don't. I think it makes a pretty cool fire effect for the werewolf. Speaking of Altered Beast, here is the dragon transformation from stage 2. And again, I think he looks amazing, not just as the Altered Beast Dragon, but just as a Weredragon in general. And he has extra articulation because he has articulated wings and a tail. And he has one accessory, which is a lightning effect that you can put in his mouth, and you just plug it in and it just stays there. And he looks like a great figure. But if you've played the game, you know that you rarely see him standing. He is usually flying, but don't worry, they got you covered. So what you need to do is you need to twist his neck around. And once you do that, once you get his neck twisted around like this, then you can have him looking up like this. And so then you can do this. And you have the ability to put him in his flying position. Get you a flight stand, just any generic 6-inch flight stand will do. And you have an awesome display piece straight out of the arcade game. Again, $10 figure. Now, my only detractor here is that he is the one figure that is currently not available on Walmart.com. I hope that is remedied in the future because this is probably, in my opinion, the most impressive of the bunch. I just love this Weredragon figure to death. And finally, on to the new hotness. This is the brand new Wave 3 that, as of the recording of this video, is available on Walmart.com. Here's what the packaging looks like from the front, and here is what it looks like from the back. Now, this is your traditional blister bubble packaging. You're going to have to rip this thing open to get to the figure, but it's worth it. So first up in Wave 3 is Gilius Thunderhead from Golden Axe, both the Genesis game and arcade game. He is a little man with a big axe, and Mr. Thunderhead, I think that's what the ladies call him, looks amazing. He comes with one accessory, which is his axe, but what more does this man need? He looks perfect. He's just straight out of the video game. I love this figure to death. He just looks very cool, and I hope we get more figures from Golden Axe. Here is a size comparison between him and the other figure in this wave. And so the other figure is Joe Mushashi from Shinobi, specifically from Revenge of Shinobi. So Joe is a shinobi who stars in a series of games called Shinobi. I know the guys at Sega were great at naming stuff. And this figure looks amazing. I love it. It perfectly captures that look from that later game. And he has a fully articulated scarf on his back. And so you can put that in any type of direction you want to for some really dramatic poses. His one accessory is his sword, and I think it looks great. You can either sheath it or have him hold it. And I think this perfectly captures this look for the character. Now, I do wish we could get a figure of his look from the original arcade game Shinobi, but maybe that'll come in another wave. I think for folks who grew up playing the later games, this is a freaking amazing figure and just a freaking cool ninja figure in general. I especially love that movable scarf. And I love the fact that there's paint detail on the sword, and both in his outfit, you can see the little details on the gauntlets. And as an added bonus, the sheath is actually a separate piece. You can actually remove the sheath from his body. You can just slip it over his head and arm and take it off. And you can put it on other characters, but their head has to be small for it to fit on them. And so the only one I could find that was compatible at this point was Axel, but you might be able to play around with that with other like Nintendo figures or something if you want to give them a ninja sword. So again, I think this is a fantastic figure and a fantastic line. And I think, again, these will probably fit right in with your Nintendo figures. But there's a few other figures that I think they might fit in with. So the monsters could be bigger than normal human beings, right? So you could put them in with your 3 3/4 inch figures, just pretending they're giant monsters that your heroes are fighting, like in the Marvel Universe figures, or if you have fantasy figures like Lord of the Rings or something on that scale. You could have a lot of fun with these figures. And of course, at $10 a pop, you can army build you some werewolves. And since Gilius Thunderhead is supposed to be a smaller character anyway, you might consider putting him with your 5.5 inch or 7 inch figures. He does look like a dude who'd be hanging out with He-Man. And so I think we've got a great assortment so far. We've got a couple Streets of Rage characters, and we've got a couple characters from Altered Beast, and that's awesome. And then we have just kind of a variety of characters from different games, just letting us know the possibilities are endless. You know, all the Sega properties are opened up for action figures in this line, which I definitely would love to see. I think this is a really, really cool line, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing what they do in future waves. Tell me what you guys want to see in future waves of these figures. All right, like and subscribe for more videos. And until next time, remember, you can't do this on Nintendo. See ya.